Okay, so to finish up multi-step equations with fractions and decimals is what we're going to talk about today. And so we're just trying to get you comfortable with some real basic equations that have a fraction or a decimal in them, and just trying to get you guys to remember some of your skills from before and not just to freak out when you see a fraction or decimal. And so we're going to just put a little reminder on here and I'm taking off some of the ones that have a lot of different fractions going on, but let's remember from before what we talked about is when we're dealing with a fraction, division of fractions, like I could say divide by 2/3, but the way that we divide fractions is we multiply by the reciprocal. Or you maybe remember keep, change, and then flip. Okay, so to get rid of this 2/3, I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by the reciprocal of 2/3, which is 3/2. And if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. Okay, so a couple things about this. The reason why this works is 6 divided by 6 is 1 or 1x, or you can think of canceling the 2 on top and bottom and the 3 on top and bottom. So we have x equals, and of course 5 is like 5 over 1 if you want. 5 times 3 is 15. 1 times 2 is 2. So 15 halves, or 7.5, or 7.5. The same thing is true if we have fractions on both sides. So if I have -4/7 times y, that's what I want to undo, I would multiply both sides by the reciprocal. I'm going to go ahead and put a parentheses there because of the negative. That would just be -7/4, the reciprocal would be. So I multiply that side by -7/4 and this side by -7/4. What that does is it cancels the 7 on top and bottom and the 4 on top and bottom. And so we have y equals, we multiply across, positive times negative is -14 over 20, which we could reduce that by 2 to be, so divided by 2, -7 over 10, or a decimal would be -0.7. So putting that into two-step or multi-step equations, let's take a look at the first example. So this is really a two-step equation. There's nothing I need to simplify. I'm just going to undo my last operation first, which doesn't involve a fraction. It's just -7. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. Then I'm left with 3/4 p, and 11 plus 7 is 18. So I'm going to get rid of the 3/4 times p by multiplying by the reciprocal of 3/4. And the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. And if I do that to this side of the equation, I also have to multiply this side by 4/3. So we're left with p equals, and we have 18, or you think of it as 18 over 1 times 4/3. You can multiply across and simplify if you want, like 18 times 4 over 3. Or we learned how to do some cross-canceling earlier on. Not cross-multiplying, cross-canceling, meaning can we get these fractions to reduce at all? Because these are all things on the top and the bottom. And I noticed that 3 goes into 18. So 3 goes into itself once and 18 6 times. And so now I'm left with 6 over 1 times 4 over 1. Well, 6 over 1 times 4 over 1 is 24 over 1, which we can write as 24. Okay, so just a real basic example. I'm going to have you do some just two-step equations where the last step you have to multiply by the reciprocal. I'm going to look at a decimal example, and I don't want you to worry about word problems at this point because I'm not going to ask you to come up with the equations for the word problems on your own. This is just simply a word situation, but you're going to notice I give you the equation you're using right in here, so you don't have to come up with that on your own. And when you're dealing with decimals, you are going to need a calculator. So you can use the app on your phone, or you can find a lot of apps online too. Free calculators. All right, so suppose your cell phone plan is $30 per month plus 5 cents per minute. So 30 plus 0.05x, that's where that's coming from. Your bill is $36.75. Use the equation to find the number of minutes on your bill, and the number of minutes is X. Okay, so let's just look at this one. Pretty basic. You have solved a couple with decimals already. I'm going to rewrite the equation down here. There is no simplifying that I have to do. Everything, the like terms, they're all put together already. So I'm going to go ahead and solve this. So I have 0.05x plus 30 on this side. I'm going to undo the last operation, which is the plus 30, by subtracting 30 from both sides. When I do that, what I'm left with is 0.05x equals, and 36.75 minus 30 is 6.75. So my last step is I am going to undo 0.05 times x by dividing both sides by 0.05, which cancels here. But of course, we don't know how to do that in our heads. We learned at some point how to do it with long division, but we're going to go ahead and get our calculator out. Hopefully you can see that. And we had 6.75 divided by 0.05. So x then would equal 135. We want to, in this case, remember that this was the minutes on the bill. All right, so a couple examples with fraction and decimals. I just have a few for you to do on the homework tonight, and that is going to finish up our week on solving multi-step equations.